The Church, number 3, from the Raven, Revenge, and the Reckoning. Night was coming on quick. Me and old Buck done made about 126 miles, I reckon, from where her grave was. We were heading east, and it was already dark when I pulled into this little town. It was quiet, and I could see the shadows everywhere. I hadn't seen the Raven all day, which I thought a good sign, but I saw a church down at the end of the street, with lights streaming out the doors and the windows. Easing up across the boardwalk and hitching Buck to the post, I swung off. When my feet hit the dirt, I grunted. A little pain from sitting in the saddle too long had started taking hold. I stretched and walked down to the edge of the street, looking to see if anybody was in the church. I couldn't see a soul. As I stood there, my mind drifted to her. She went to church, not every Sunday, but a lot of them, and I never went. Sometimes I'd walk with her, and then stay out there under the trees till it was over. But I never went inside. Hadn't been in one since I was 12 years old. I just stood there looking at that light and wondering what was going on. Finally, my curiosity got the best of me, and I eased up to that front door and looked in. Looked like a church, kind of like I thought one would look. Wooden benches on each side, and an aisle up the middle to the front, where the pulpit stood. Not a soul inside. I thought. I wonder what's going on. I stepped in. The place was low lit, couldn't see much. Didn't know whether to sit down in the back or walk to the front, but I walked a couple steps and then thought better, and just ducked into one of them wooden benches and sat down. I didn't know why. I hadn't prayed in many a year, but I thought about it, and then I laid my head back against the rest and closed my eyes. It was dark outside. The town looked kind of strange. Like this, I couldn't see the light from the church anymore when I heard a scream way out yonder in the hills. I knew that scream. The hair on the back of my neck stood up like an old hunting dog when he smelled a bear. I knew who it was, and I started running. I hit the timber branches hitting me in the face, and I started calling out her name as loud as I could. Then I heard it, that damn Raven call, and that sound spooked me. I broke out of the timber across an open valley, crossing it in a flash, and in no time I was heading up the rocks on the other side. Then I heard the wolves. Sounded like a bunch of them, and they weren't far from where I had heard the scream. Now I really began to run. Brush smacking me in the face, tripping, falling. I cut my knee. I could feel the warm blood running down my leg as I leaped from boulder to boulder trying to get there. Then I heard it, like those wolves had just hit a wounded deer, and then the screaming started. I jumped upright, my head whacking the side of the headrest on the back of the bench, and I shook my head trying to see where I was at. And then I remembered the church. I must have fell asleep. My heart was pounding like thunder, and my throat was dry. I felt like I had a rock in it. It was all I could do to keep from choking on it. I was gasping for air, trying to drag some into my lungs, and just leaned my head up against the bench in front of me, trying to catch my breath. For a long time, I stayed still, just thinking. Hell, I hadn't talked to God in such a long time, I couldn't remember when. I figured he probably quit talking to me about the time I quit talking to him. But before I even knew what was happening, I heard my voice cracking in the darkness. Well, old man, I ain't asking you to save me. I ain't looking for an easy way road. I'm just looking for a road forward, just a path to start down. And that was all. I stayed there for a minute, then slowly got up, my knees popping like old timber, my back sore. I stretched, and then as I walked out of that bench, I reached over and touched the one beside it and gave it a little nod in recognition. I couldn't say that I felt like a free man, but I did feel just a little bit of peace for the first time in a long time. I passed out the door across the street. Buck was waiting on me, flicking his ears in the dark. I untied him, swung into the saddle, eased him off across the boardwalk again, and headed east.